Respected sir, all your students have great affection and admiration for you. You have been a role model for all of us. We have planned a series of meetings with the senior teachers of Gujarat under the title Reconnect with Teachers of Yore. And this will be the first episode of that series. And we are very fortunate and we thank you very much for accepting this invitation and be with us today.
રંગવધૂતાય નમઃ. પૂજ્ય રંગવધૂતે અતિથિ દેવો ભવ પછી પરસ્પર દેવો ભવનું એક સૂત્ર આપ્યું. આ કહેવાનો હેતુ એટલો જ કે એનાથી ખાસ ધ્યાન રહે તમારી ઉર્ધ્વ ગતિ રહે અને તમે જેની સાથે વાત કરતા હો એ કોની સાથે વાત કરો છો એનું કોન્સ્ટન્ટ સભાનતા રહે. રંગ અવધૂતનો એક ભજનમાં એક ફકરો છે, એનાથી હું આજે શરૂ કરીશ. આપ્યું તે તારાને આપી, રાચ્યું મન મોઝાર, શેષે પૂર્ણતા પીછાણું, એવો દી દેખાડ. તે આપ્યું, તારાને હું આપું અને એમાંથી જે બચે તેનામાં હું પૂર્ણતાની અનુભૂતિ કરતો રહું, એવો દિવસ મને કાયમને માટે દેખાડતો રહે. એ ભજનનો એ સાર છે. આ સાથે કહીને હું આપ સર્વનો આભાર માનું છું કે આટલી મોટી જવાબદારી મારા માથે તમે સોંપી.
Sir, how did you decide to become a doctor and that to a gynecologist?
When I entered InterScience, that was the first time this question was raised. First of all, I had some exposure to calculus and trigonometry and all that. That was not coming very easy to me. And when I entered InterScience, my father, I remember even the spot where he asked me, Nalin, what do you want to be? I was rather good at handling screws and nuts and bolts and mathematics also. So I said, I want to be an engineer. My father told me that, look, we have a tradition of a medical background. You can serve people. Why don't you go in medicine? That's all there is to it. I said, okay, I'll go into medicine. And that's how I chose branch B, as they used to call it, biology. And InterScience was in biology. I passed reasonably well. Again, I used to miss things by hardly 1 or 2 marks. And getting admission in the medical college was a process by itself. I entered medical college. I applied for various medical colleges. The first college to give me admission was Topiwala National Medical College. I filled up the fees and I sort of enrolled as a student there. And after some time, I got a call from Ambija Medical College, Ahmedabad. I was at that time in Abu, and my father just sent a telegram. I came back and filled the form because I wanted to go in a medical college which was run by the government, and told back to the National Topiwala Medical College to assign my seat to someone else, which they didn't. One seat was wasted. So I was 1 month in Ahmedabad Medical College also. Meanwhile, a medical student in Grant Medical College, Bombay, wanted a mutual exchange. And that's how I was exchanged and I went to Grant Medical College, Bombay, which was my first choice. So as I said, things just kept on happening, not out of my doing, but that's how I landed in my first choice in the medical college.
And choosing gynecology as a specialty, sir?
Yeah, that was also predetermined. My elder cousin was sort of assigned that you have to be a surgeon. My father and my uncle both were doctors practicing jointly So they had taken a decision that Vasant Bhai would become a surgeon and Nalin would become a gynecologist. So after having entered the medical college, it was almost predestined that I would become a gynecology. Again, not my choice.
Some memories of your postgraduate years. As I understand, sir, you spent some time with Professor Shirodkar in his private after your post graduation. Will you please share with us your experiences with Dr. Shirodkar?
That phase, I suppose, was one of the most important phase in my life. The Medical College, Bombay. There was one professor, Professor De Silva, who was a surgeon. And he used to come to teach us anatomy. He had one very peculiar habit that he would ask us to stand, the students to stand, give a bone, just take the hands back and give a bone in our hand in the back and ask us to identify the bone. Let alone the big bones, but even pisiform. He would constantly keep on hammering on identifying the bones. And I used to identify even pisiform, whether it is right or left. Perhaps that is where the sense of touch developed very well, continued to develop, and in obstetrics, I think that helped me quite a lot. Otherwise, my life in Grand Medical College was not particularly very significantly noteworthy, except for the fact that in the final MBBS, my teacher in whom I used to do my term was Mrs. D'Souza. And she failed me in gynecology by 1 mark, and I failed MBBS, final MBBS, for the first time in my life. And that too by my own teacher. Fair enough, no problem about it. But when I passed in the second attempt, as such in my first attempt, I had good mark in surgery, so I got my first residency in GT Hospital in surgery under Dr. Talwalkar, which was a great event. And I developed my initial surgical skills in my first year of residency under Dr. Talwalkar, who was very generous. But because I had failed in gynecology by 1 mark in the first attempt, I could not easily get gynec residency. And I had to struggle very hard. And fortunately, because of my cousin Vasant Bhai, who was also in Grand Medical College at that time, demonstrator in anatomy, his friend was a municipal councillor, and he gradually found a way for me to join Sion Hospital, National Topiwala Medical College, Sion Hospital as my first residency under B.V. Aroskar. B.V. Aroskar was a very quiet type of person, but Dr. Bakshi, Praveen Bakshi, was my registrar. He was the one who asked me to do almost every maneuver on obstetric maneuvers. It was a very heavy obstetric unit. And I remember I must have done 4 or 5 internal podalic version in my first year residency. That had a great significance in the later life. After that, of course, the time moved on. MBBS, once again, as I said, after my residency in Sion Hospital, I got an opportunity to work in private hospital of Dr. Shirodkar, V.N. Shirodkar. A great learning experience. How a committed man does a research. He was sort of at that time working very deeply into uterine descents. And besides the Shirodkar, he was also trying to develop the sling operation, Shirodkar sling. At that time, I have seen him operation on an operation table, leaving a operation in the middle, running back to his workshop, which was next door, do something there, come back to the operation theater and start the sling. Completely sort of engrossed and lost in the task at hand. And naturally, he was not recognized then. But when Shirodkar operations were sort of approved by America, from Johns Hopkins, when the messages came that this is Shirodkar operation, Tilinde mentioned it everything. And that is when it got the sort of recognition in India. That is a thing which even today exists. We don't recognize our talent so easily until it comes from the foreign country.
Sir, I also remember as houseman, you used to tell us that we should touch a stillborn baby blindfolded and we would be allowed to move our finger only by an inch around and to identify the body part where we have touched. This helped us in identifying baby's body parts doing vaginal examination for obstetric maneuvers, especially whether it is a foot or a hand or a face or a breech. This helped us in obstetric career a lot. Sir, I also remember you telling us the value of hard work, and still you have been very modest in accepting your successes. I remember that you shared once that you failed in your MD at first attempt, and subsequently with hard work you were awarded the gold medal in prestigious Mumbai University for MD in gynecology. Can you just highlight how this happened?
Yeah, that was a very interesting experience. The term when I appeared for MD, my room partner named Dr. P.J. Deshpande used to use my books, telling operative obstetrics by Monroe Care and all the other textbooks. He was a very sort of a man of very small means, and so he used to use my books. And he used to read them so thoroughly that in the margins, he used to take out the points from the paragraph which he has written. After my failure, these books happened to be naturally in my hands also. And perhaps that is the first time I began to learn how to learn. And then I studied those books so methodically that affected my teaching as well as my performance in the second attempt. When I appeared in the final MD examination, second time, the case that was given to me was intersex. Nobody was prepared to accept that case as intersex. So I said, all right, give it to me. And my examiners were Dr. Purandare, Dr. Masani, and many of them from GS Medical College, which we used to fear. But as I had said, I had studied the subject well, I fared very well, and eventually it so happened that they decided that a gold medal must be given, though this is his second attempt. For the first time in the history of Bombay University, Mangaldas Mehta gold medal was given to a person at a second attempt. And that is thanks to Dr. Masani and Dr. Purandare.
Sir, you have always been very modest in attributing your success to others in spite of your hard work and excellence. And we have all observed this so many times. Can you please tell us how did you decide to go to UK and some of your experiences in UK
As I said earlier, my cousin was destined to be a surgeon, I was destined to be a gynecologist, and we were destined to go to UK for FRCS. So, as soon as I finished my MD, I did one more body dissection in anatomy and set off to UK in 1949, December, in SS Chusan, steamship Chusan, in December 1959. By then I had finished my MD. To join the primary FRCS course, which was for 3 months, full-time course. And that is where I started my England career. After, I must also tell you some experiences in UK. After I completed my primary FRCS, I must have applied for 150 jobs, interviews. There used to be calls, I used to go for interview, get reimbursed for it, and I would hitchhike from that place to back to Edinburgh or wherever I was. So that is how my hitchhiking also, because of my all the experiences in childhood, and my brother-in-law who used to talk a lot about Youth Hosteling Federation or International Youth Hostel Federation. I became a life member of Youth Hostel, and that is my walking, my all the other expeditions, including mountain climbing expedition, had the roots in that youth hosteling and hitchhiking. So I used to hitchhiking back to the job, saving the money of reimbursed money, and sustain myself. It so happened that my colleague in Grant Medical College wanted to go for a MRCOG course for 14 days, 15 days. And he rang me or sent me a message that would I do his locum. I said, would I do? I would love to do it. And I went for a locum there for 15 days, for 2 weeks, while he was in London for MRCOG course. And that is where I got my first British reference. And from that day on, I never had any problem getting any job. And it so happened that the next job turned up in Grimsby, and I went again to the place Grimsby, where I had done the locum, and did my first residency in obstetrics under Mr. MacDonald, who then subsequently became my reference for later on to come. After doing Grimsby job, I came back for the final FRCS course, again for full-time 3 months in Edinburgh. During that time I studied, and that final FRCS had obstetrics gynec FRCS, which was only given in Edinburgh. So I had to do that course in Edinburgh. And obstetric gynec was in lieu or in place of surgical, the surgery, operative section of the surgery for the FRCS candidates of surgery. Instead of that, we had to obstetric gynec surgical subject. That was the only difference. Otherwise, I had to do everything else, learning every fine art of surgery, also in my theory, in my practical. In fact, during my final FRCS examination, I was tackled more on the stomach and hip joint than obstetrics gynec, except at the table and the viva at the obstetric tables. So that developed a very comprehensive approach when I became a consultant. I had a good background of general surgery, bit of orthopedics. Well, and that's how it developed my character in UK. I returned back in December 64. That is exactly 5 years later. Forgot to tell you one more thing. I had a call for registrarship from Liverpool Walton Hospital, which was again a teaching hospital. They used to call United Liverpool Group. got the job, and I had my most important years of my life in Liverpool Walton Hospital. My first patient who came was a placenta previa. And my boss, she was registered under Mr. Barr. So I naturally reported that this is what she is bleeding, and she was, I think, 8 months pregnant. So he asked me, what would you do? I said, well, I'll do, my past experience helped me. I said, well, I would do bipolar version and pull down the leg. This was a first exposure to registrarship, my first boss, and he said, all right, go ahead. He didn't even come. And I did bipolar version, ruptured the membranes, pulled the leg down, bleeding stopped, patient was all right, delivered normally, everything went on well. I don't know whatever impression he must have got out of me. Similarly, my first cesarean section was also in Liverpool. And that was Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Hamilton who has written a chapter in British Practice, Obstetrics. So he said, all right, go ahead. So next day when he came on a round, I asked him, sir, you didn't even ask me what was my experience, whether I am competent enough to do cesarean section or not. The boy, you know who assisted you? She was the senior most sister in our department, and she reported back to me what is your competence. Proved many things. That nursing staff was the back and call or the spinal cord of the whole system. I never knew that I was going to be a teacher in future, but this had a lasting impression on my mind, how to be a teacher. Second, very significant, once I was asked by Mr. Barr to operate a vaginal hysterectomy on his registered patient. I did vaginal hysterectomy, and on a subsequent count of the swabs, one swab was missing. So, being a Bombay student, I was terribly frightened. Shaking legs, I went and reported to Mr. Barr that, well, one swab is missing. And imagine what he said. It is your bloody headache, you put it in, now you get it out. So I had to reopen the stitches, take the swab out, and re-stitch them. He didn't even come once to look back. That made me a better teacher. I have often quoted this experience. In fact, these mishaps, my failures, my swab remaining inside, and one more experience. I was asked to do Marshall Marcetic grant by Mr. Hamilton on his registered patient. I did it, everything was fine. On 10th day, the patient died. My God, that was the time when મારું ખાવા પીવાનું બંધ થઈ ગયું, મારું ઊંઘવાનું બંધ થઈ ગયું. I even wrote a letter to Rang Avdut. But imagine Mr. Hamilton, whose patient she was. And I insisted on a post-mortem to find out the cause, because the death was on the 10th day. Mr. Hamilton stood by me like a rock, sort of gave me courage, sort of strength to stand by to this mishap. And the post-mortem report came out as a fat embolism. That patient was slightly abused. There was nothing we could have done. But that again, so it so happened that from these failings, I think I was created a better human being, perhaps. And certainly it had a lot to do with whatever teaching I did in the later years as a teacher.
Sir, all these three experiences which you narrated had tremendous impact on us also. Like you were trained in general surgery a lot, and so you were always ready to support us in difficult cases. Whenever we felt uncomfortable dealing with a situation, especially in gynec where bladder or bowel trauma is possible, you were there to take care of all these complications. And that boosted our confidence a lot. When I joined as a resident, the prevailing atmosphere in the hospital was that the nurses were considered slightly below level to that of doctors, and we used to be very condescending towards them. However, with your courteous and decent behavior towards nurses and support staff changed us also, and we became more friendly with them and professional with them. Especially when you narrated your incident in UK about first cesarean section, where the nurse was asked to oversee your surgery. Standing by your colleagues, we have observed so many times, especially when somebody is in a very difficult situation, or even when one has made a genuine error, you have always stood by them as a rock. And this has also developed our attitude, very positive attitude towards colleagues in difficult situations. Can you please tell us about the British culture as compared to Indian situation in medical practice, as you had the experience and exposure to both of them?
I think since Britishers were here in India for almost 200 years, over all the systems, legal system, the social structure, the fiber, even medical practice was more or less British. But one thing in final FRCS course, when they used to discuss the indications of any surgery, one thing they used to very much emphasize: does it interfere with the person's economical life? If you satisfy all the indications, if you have asked yourself your own limitations, whether you are capable to handle this surgery or not, and that too adequately and nicely, and if indications are there, you have evaluated your you have evaluated your limitations, then go ahead and do it surgery. Otherwise, try all the other conservative procedures. So my approach was influenced by that British thinking, that I remained an offset sort of a conservative clinician, operated when I must, and at each operation evaluated my limitations. Even today I do that. Whether am I capable of handling this surgery or not? This has some reference which might come later on in our talk. But during these years were my most valuable years in life. Every student that came under me in my unit, I used to emphasize 2 or 3 things very, very vehemently. I will tolerate everything but discourtesy to the smallest and the weakest person. See that you handle them with full respect and dignity. Number 2, 4th years were singularly told when they became 4th years that when you operate, write your own name as an operator. Until then, they used to write the name of the surgeon assisted by the 4th year resident. From that on, and I kept on arguing with the government, that if as a teacher I am going to send out these people to the society, they must understand their responsibility. And since then, all the 4th year residents started writing their name as an operator, which had never happened before. And that is where I used to say, I will stand by, don't worry about it, I am there. But you write your son. This is one aspect of it. Another aspect mainly was the atmosphere in the house, in our unit, gradually developed to such a thick bond that now I never had to tell any resident any time that you do this or you don't do that. The ethos of the unit was so friendly, so bonded, and so spontaneous. One incident I must inform, that one day the residents came to me, "Sir, from tomorrow we have decided to have the same uniform, have a gown with a number plate." That was my suggestion, that you must have a name plate on your apron so that the patient can identify you, and if they want to complain, they can complain to me that Mr. So-and-so did this, Mr. So-and-so did this. That was a feedback I wanted. And lo behold, next day, the whole unit came to the ward fully in the same color of trousers, same color of shirt, a tie, and the women folk, same color sari, gown with their number plates. When the then secretary, when he came on a round, Mr. Jose or somebody, he was stunned to see our unit walking past, fully gowned, which never happened in any unit anywhere in civil. I had never told them that you do this. This was their spontaneous response. એક અનુશાસન એવું ઘડાઈ ગયું હતું કે કોઈને મારે વઢવાની જરૂર પડી નહીં, કોઈને આમ કરો કે તેમ કરો કહેવાની જરૂર પડી નહીં. એકવાર એવું થયું હતું. Once it so happened. And that was another thing, as Dr. Parul Kotrawala has just mentioned. Respect the sisters. In the ward, the sisters were respected with her. But a time came, my another emphasis was that until you were undergraduates, you were studying and you were asked to ask yourself why. This is happening, why is it happening? The child is not turning, why is it not turning? Why? But as soon as you became MBBS, start asking yourself, why not? That if there is an external version to be performed, why shall I not perform? And they took it very seriously. They found any deficit in the labor ward. They used to make it a very regular, strong point that, sister, why not? Why is this not there in the ward? Why is it not this? Why is not this? To the extent that sisters used to report back કે ડૉક્ટર વાણીના તો દરેક રેસિડેન્ટ પોતાને ડૉક્ટર વાણી માને છે, પણ ડૉક્ટર વાણી પોતાને ડૉક્ટર વાણી નથી માનતા. આવો દિવસ એકવાર ઉગ્યો. Thanks to this insistence on non-tolerance of anything ambiguous and not with patient's consideration. And this they maintain very regularly. Another very fortunate thing to happen in our unit was Raman Bhai Patel coming as an assistant. The man has a very, very fundamental principles of public relations. If I found any time, any situation which was complicated, Raman Bhai was easily handled it. And it so happened કે મારી પાસે કોઈ દિવસ કોઈ રેસિડેન્ટની કમ્પ્લેન આવી નથી, કોઈ રેસિડેન્ટે કમ્પ્લેન કરી નથી, અથવા કોઈ બહારથી પણ રેસિડેન્ટ વિશે કમ્પ્લેન આવી નથી. And one of the most important things in our unit used to be a table after the round. We used to assemble around the table And somehow, some residents, when they read some articles, they would bring that article on this table. And that is where, Parul, I must give the very ultimate credit to you. You brought the maximum. So there was nothing like a formal journal club. But these queries which were brought on the table opened the whole subject to the whole unit. They would discuss amongst themselves, આ છે ને તે છે ને આમ કેમ નહીં, etc. I can once again say that I was not a very academically very strong person. I have never written any article, but I would evaluate all that was said amongst the residents against my experience and give them a feedback. That was probably a learning experience, intense learning experience from students and for me. And I kept on insisting on all the students, right from the day I joined Civil Hospital and BJ Medical College in 1968, that look, boys and girls, I don't have any research background or experience, but I want you to expose yourself to research as much as possible. And another, perhaps these were the only two expectations I very expressly told them, that as far as possible and whenever possible, go to the teaching line. Because over the period of all these years, I have always felt, as I said in the first stanza, આપ્યું તે તારાને આપ્યું. That has guided my life. I became quite a popular teacher, and that is the time I felt that to be a doctor, to be blessed to be a doctor, is perhaps the greatest blessing you can receive. And within that, to be a teacher of the doctors is perhaps the ultimate you can be gifted by any authority that be. So I used to keep on telling them that so far as possible, whenever possible, go in teaching line, expose yourself to research, and I'm very happy to say, which I will probably cover in a later part. But those days of my being in BJ Medical College from 1968 to 1989 were perhaps the most important part of my life.
Sir, after getting back, you had a very busy practice, and in addition, you got involved with Red Cross, the blood banking, as well as Sadvichar and Rotary Club. Sir, how could you manage your time balancing all these activities along with your family? And in addition, you also decided to join medical education as a teacher. How could you manage to adjust to each of this? And also, what was the impetus behind joining medical college as a teacher?
First thing first, impetus was probably these two things. ડૉક્ટર બનો તો એવા બનો કે તમારું મોં જોઈને દર્દીનો અડધા દર્દ દૂર થઈ જવું જોઈએ. અને આપ્યું તે તારાને આપી રાચ્યું મને મોજા, શેષે બાકી જે રહ્યું શેષે પૂર્ણતા પેછાણું. ઇંગ્લેન્ડથી આવ્યા પછી ગુલાબબાઈ હોસ્પિટલમાં હું 4 વર્ષ રહ્યો એઝ એ કન્સલ્ટન્ટ. ને પછી 1968માં જ્યારે એપોઇન્ટમેન્ટ આવી ત્યારે મને એન્ટીનેટલ ઓફિસર તરીકે એપોઇન્ટમેન્ટ મળી. અને ત્યારથી એક જાતની આપવાની ભાવના તો કદાચ પહેલેથી હશે અથવા તો સાથે સાથે ડેવલપ થતી ગઈ. છોકરાઓને જ્યારે જ્યારે ચાન્સ મળે ત્યારે કાંઈ પણ કહેવા જેવું હોય તો હું કહેતો રહેતો. હું ઘણો જ શરમાળ ઘણું ઓછું બોલ્યો. ધીરે ધીરે આને લીધે બોલતો થયો. 1968માં મને લાગે છે કે રોટરી ક્લબ જોઈન કરી, અને ત્યાં રોટરી ક્લબ જોઈન કર્યા પછી થોડે ઘણે અંશે આમ સ્ટેજ પર જવું પડે, બોલવું પડે, રાષ્ટ્રગીત ગાવું પડે, થોડો ખીલ્યો. રેડક્રોસમાં તો હું 1964 ડિસેમ્બરમાં પાછો આવ્યો, અને 1965ની શરૂઆતથી જ વોલન્ટિયર તરીકે જોડાઈ ગયો હતો બ્લડ ડોનેશન મૂવમેન્ટમાં. અને માવળનકર સાહેબ, ડૉક્ટર વીજી માવળનકર સર્જન જે કાંઈ મને અસાઇનમેન્ટ આપે તે મારા પ્રેક્ટિસના ભોગે બી હું રેડક્રોસ માટે કરતો. અને એ પછી જ્યાં કે ત્યાં મોટિવેશનલ લેક્ચર્સ આપવા જતો, ડોનેશન કેમ્પ્સ એટેન્ડ કરતો. એટલે રેડક્રોસ પ્રોબેબલી મારી વિદ્યાર્થીઓ પછી પહેલી પ્રાયોરિટી હતી. પછી મારી પ્રેક્ટિસને પછી રોટરીમાં જોઈન થયો તો ધીરે ધીરે પ્રેસિડેન્ટશીપ સુધી ગયો, અને મારું નામ ડિસ્ટ્રિક્ટ ગવર્નર તરીકે પણ પ્રપોઝ થયું હતું. એ દરમિયાન ઘણી કોમ્યુનિટી સર્વિસ પ્રોજેક્ટ કરી, એનો આજે સંદર્ભ નથી. અને બીજું, નસીબ જોગે એવી જગ્યાએ હું પ્રેક્ટિસમાં બેઠો, એ પણ સંજોગ કે ત્યાં બીજા ગાયનેકોલોજીસ્ટ ડૉક્ટર સનત જોશી પણ પ્રેક્ટિસ કરતા હતા. એટલે બધા મને ગભરાવતા કે સનતભાઈની સાથે ક્યાં તું બેસે છે, બિકોઝ હી વોઝ અ વેરી ફેમસ ઓબ્સ્ટેટ્રિશિયન ગાયનેકોલોજીસ્ટ. બટ આઈ કન્ટિન્યુડ. અને મારા બધા પરિભ્રમણો, ઇન્ક્લુડિંગ માય ફ્રીક્વન્ટ ટ્રિપ્સ ટુ હિમાલયન regions for community service projects with સદવિચાર પરિવાર, નારાયણ આશ્રમમાં મેડિકલ કેમ્પ, 7 દિવસનો ફૂલ મેડિકલ કેમ્પ અમે અહીંથી આખી ટીમ લઈ જઈને સદવિચાર પરિવાર અને તદ્રુપાનંદજી સ્વામીના કોઓપરેશનથી અમે નારાયણ આશ્રમમાં કર્યો હતો, વિચ વોઝ ધ લાસ્ટ સ્ટોપ ફોર એ કૈલાસ યાત્રા ઓન ધ ઇન્ડિયન સાઇડ. આ બધું શક્ય એ રીતે બન્યું કે જ્યારે હું બહાર જઉં ત્યારે સનતભાઈને કહી દેતો, સનતભાઈ હું જઉં છું, તમે મારા પેશન્ટને સંભાળી લેજો. આ પણ સંજોગો એવા બનતા ગયા, મારું કોઈ યોગદાન નહીં. અને સનતભાઈ વુડ લુક આફ્ટર માય કેસ. કોઈક વાર ગ્રજ કરે, પણ નેક્સ્ટ ટાઈમ હું બહાર જાઉં, કદાચ કીધા વગર પણ જાઉં તો બી મારા પેશન્ટ જોઈ લેતા. એટલે હું રખડી પણ શકતો, મારો હોબીઝ ડેવલપ કરી શકતો, કોમ્યુનિટી સર્વિસના બધા પ્રોજેક્ટ્સ પણ હેન્ડલ કરી શકતો. સનતભાઈ અને ટુ એક્સટેન્ટ રમણભાઈ પટેલનું નર્સિંગ હોમ. એટલે આ બધું એ રીતે થયું. અને સિવિલ હોસ્પિટલમાંના યોગદાનમાં બિસાઇડ્સ માય બિંગ એ ટીચર, 2 વસ્તુઓ મને ખાસ યાદ રહી ગઈ છે. હું ગ્રિમ્સબીમાં જ્યારે મારી ફર્સ્ટ રેસિડેન્સી કરતો હતો ત્યારે એક પીડિયાટ્રિશિયન આવતા, અને એ પીડિયાટ્રિશિયન પ્રિડોમિનન્ટલી એમનો ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ રિસર્ચ ઇન RH ઇન્કોમ્પેટિબિલિટી હતો. એટલે એક્સચેન્જ ટ્રાન્સફ્યુઝન્સ કરતા અને હું એમને એસિસ્ટ કરતો. એટલે એમના બધા પેરામીટર્સ એક્સચેન્જ ટ્રાન્સફ્યુઝનના મારા ભેજામાં ફિક્સ થયેલા. એમનો 4-વે કેન્યુલા કઈ રીતે વાપરે છે એ હું જોતો. અને ઇન્ડિયા આવ્યા, અને સાથે સાથે જ્યારે હું ઇન્ડિયા આવ્યો ત્યારે મેં 3 વસ્તુઓ ઇન્ડેન્ટ કરી હતી: રિગલીસ ફોર્સેપ્સ, કીલેન્ડ્સ ફોર્સેપ્સ એન્ડ ઇન્ફન્ટ ઇન્ટ્રાટ્રેકિયલ ટ્યુબ્સ. કારણ ત્યાં મારે ઇન્ફન્ટ ઇન્ટ્રાટ્રેકિયલ ટ્યુબ્સ પણ અમારે કરવી પડતી કેટલીક વાર, પીડિયાટ્રિશિયન આવે એ પહેલાં. એટલે આટલી લઈને હું ઇન્ડિયા આવેલો. પહેલી વાર જ્યારે સનતભાઈના એક પેશન્ટ, એમનું નામ બી મને યાદ છે, એમને RH ઇન્કોમ્પે, પારસી હતા, RH ઇન્કોમ્પેટિબલ કેસ આવ્યો. એટલે એમણે બિપિન શાહને ફોન કર્યો, પેથોલોજીસ્ટ, તે વખતના જાણીતા પેથોલોજીસ્ટ. એમણે મારું નામ સજેસ્ટ કર્યું કે વાણી હમણાં જ ઇંગ્લેન્ડથી આવ્યો છે, આસ્ક હિમ ઇફ હિલ ડુ એક્સચેન્જ ટ્રાન્સફ્યુઝન. સો સનતભાઈ આસ્ક મી કે ભાઈ આવું છે અને બિલીરુબિન વધી રહ્યું છે, એટસેટ્રા એટસેટ્રા. સો ઇટ્સ ઓકે. 4th or 5th ડે હતો, એટલે ફિમોરલ એક્સેસથી અમે એક્સચેન્જ ટ્રાન્સફ્યુઝન કર્યું તો ચાઇલ્ડ સર્વાઇવ્ડ. એવા 2 કે 3 સનતભાઈના કર્યા. સેમ બિપિન શાહ recommended my name to Dhanbai Anklesariya. And Dr. Anklesariya also called me for 2-3 exchange transfusions, so I did exchange transfusions there. Again femoral approach. કારણ ત્રીજે કે ચોથા દિવસ પછી જ કોલ આવતા. એટલે ત્યાં એક્સચેન્જ ટ્રાન્સફ્યુઝન કરવાને લીધે સિવિલમાં જ્યારે જરૂરિયાત પડી, આપણા ગુજરાતમાં ફર્સ્ટ એક્સચેન્જ ટ્રાન્સફ્યુઝન, God be with me, was done by me in civil hospital. And at that time the pediatrics was Shashi. So after that I was called for exchange transfusions in pediatrics department. અને બીજી મારી જે ઇન્ફન્ટ ટ્યુબ્સ લાવી હતી તે ડૉક્ટર લાલા used to come to our private for giving anesthesia to my patients also. So these tubes were presented to Dr. Lala અને ઇન્ફન્ટ ઇન્ટ્યુબેશન્સ એનાથી સિવિલ હોસ્પિટલમાં બી થવા માંડ્યું. અને આવા કાંઈક કિલન માટે મારું નામ બીજું કંઈક પ્રખ્યાત થયું હોય તો થેન્ક્સ ટુ સિવિલ હોસ્પિટલ એન્ડ બીજે મેડિકલ કોલેજ. એટલે એક જાતનું ફોર્સેપ્સની સાથે મારું નામ એક રીતે લિંક થઈ ગયું અને કોન્ઝર્વેટિવ ઓબ્સ્ટેટિક્સ સાથે લિંક થઈ ગયું. બિકોઝ મેની ઓફ ધ રેસિડેન્ટ્સ, many of the obstetric gynec residents, anesthetic residents and pediatric residents, thanks to my residents, used to come to our unit for their delivery. And we used to conduct most of the times normal deliveries. Things kept on happening, and as a result my name kept on developing. અને આજે એક સામાન્ય વિદ્યાર્થીમાંથી આજે પહેલો ઇન્ટરવ્યૂ હું તમને આપીને આવો સન્માન મેળવું છું, એ નાની સૂની વાત નથી.
We were very fortunate to get admission into your unit. In fact, our colleagues used to feel jealous of us because they could not join Dr. Vani's unit. In addition to good skills, training and work, we also had a great comfortable atmosphere in the unit, and it was like a family. And this tradition continued with us through our entire life. Of course, our unit had most conservative data. Our cesarean section rate was just 3 to 4% compared to the department average of 10%. I remember one unit which had a very high rate of 15%, and we used to joke about it that you are doing abdominal episiotomies, and we used to cover their extra high rate with our low rate to maintain the average. My PG thesis was on forceps delivery, and who else than you being the person to read and accept that thesis, because you were the ultimate skills for Killen's forceps. I do remember that whenever there was a question of who would be performing Killen, only one name came to everyone's mind, and that was Dr. Vani. In entire civil hospital, you were the only one performing excellent Killen forceps. Not only Killen, in addition to it, all obstetric maneuvers like breech delivery, performing a version, inversion correction, all of them, you were the ultimate in skills. We have seen many skillful gynec surgeons. Of course, our unit was one of the most preferred unit for gynec surgeries. But when it came to obstetric skills and maneuvers, you were and have been the ultimate in dealing with obstetrics. And we all have learned obstetrics from the master. One observation that I was always foxed about was that you had never taken a consent for any surgical procedure in your professional career. This is absolutely unbelievable in current day practice. In fact, other people would never believe that this can really be done. And can you share with us that how could you manage this, and what was the thought process behind practicing such a very offbeat way of practice?
Out of this, there are 2 or 3 points which are of interest. The atmosphere in the unit on our table used to be so open, fully open discussion. Thinking in retrospect, I don't think there was any consideration except patient interest in handling a patient. So there was a sort of a confidence in the back of the mind that I will do nothing wrong with the patient. There was no conscious effort that either I should take a consent or I should not take a consent. But the patients came with full trust, and I gave them that full trust back. And even till my last day of my private practice, I have not taken a single consent form signature. All the time, students used to joke also કે વાણી સાહેબને રાતના delivery કરવી ગમે છે. Yes, it was so. If I induced the patients in such a way that they would come to the labor room or my private at night so that I can give them a full, undivided attention. And that is what my practice was. Domestic life probably may have suffered a bit, but that is what I prefer to do. Give full attention. And even the thought didn't crop up in my mind that something like a consent form is necessary. All the institutions where I was attached, even today where I go to the Rajasthan hospital, the consent form signature is taken as a routine by the administration. I don't ask them even today whether you have taken a consent form or not. That element of mutual trust guided me, guided them, and perhaps we just carried along.
It is almost inconceivable in current day practice to operate even a minor procedure like vacuum delivery without a proper consent. Sir, I did observe when I was a first year resident in our unit, it was all men's unit. The only lady in our unit was Dr. Lilaben Trivedi. She was the assistant professor and subsequently associate professor. She was more man than all of us because of her combative and fearless approach. Subsequently, Neeta, Krishna and Sonal joined the unit. And what we observed was that you were always a bit partial, or I would say had a soft corner for the girls in the unit. Was it only because of the gynec profession or something else? Can you throw some light on this?
Oh, I am still partial about women. There is no doubt about it. My mother is a woman. My sisters are women, those whom I respect most. My wife is a woman. And all the patients are women. Probably that has a lot to do, and I may have been partial, I don't know. But I don't think I was partial. But yes, that special attention to the opposite sex may have exists even today. If I see a good face, a good figure, a good person, I am still attracted, there is no doubt about it. That may be so. But beyond that, I don't think there was any discrimination within the students. But yes, there would be a feeling that certain student is more committed, certain student is little more casual. But as far as dishing out the workload to the students, or nothing mattered except that everyone was equal.
Sometimes I have been asked by lady colleagues about my courteous behavior towards women, and I have always maintained that my teacher, Dr. Vani, has not only taught us gynecology, but in addition, he has taught us the attitude of chivalry, that after all, we earn our livelihood by tending to women, and so we always remain indebted to them. Sir, we never saw you being partial to anyone as far as the unit work was concerned, and we all used to perform surgeries and clinic work in rotation. We also observed that you could identify people about their skills, knowledge, and sincerity, and delegate more complex tasks to the person who would deserve most. And that is how you manage to fulfill the need of all without being partial to anyone.
Permit me to say something in this. It was a very interesting thing that when a student came in the first year residency, nearer the end of the first year residency, I would go and assist him for the hysterectomy. That was a routine. So at that time, I would show him the nuances and finesse of surgical, how to tie a knot, where to tie a knot, why not to do this, why do this, etc. on a simple patient. And then leave him alone, almost in charge of the senior residents. And the final product, once again, I would go and assist at the end of the third year, before he goes to the society. How much has he developed? If there were any deficiencies, I was correct. But most of the times, the residents themselves used to manage the surgical assignments. But on a pre-operative day, I would always assess that patient whether the operation is being done in the right prison. But in the rest of the times, for 2 years, there were the residents who were sort of which operation would go to whom also. And I would sit in the operation room just waiting for any call for any assistance. But most of the operations were done by residents, except the complicated ones. And that had developed in such a feedback that I would teach the first year and I would then assess the final product. And that is what gave me the strength to argue with the health ministry that if as a teacher I am sending out these products to the society, I must make sure that they are fit enough to go out and operate. And they have done their job very well from the feedback that I receive even today. The day has now come, no matter what I taught the students, but the students have developed proficiency enough that I have become their student now. And I go to Parul Kotrapala to learn laparoscopy. I go to Prashant Acharya to learn ultrasonography. I have even gone to Siraj Harsolia for his one-stab tubectomies, tubal ligations, and tried to learn there. And Haresh Doshi still continues to be a teacher in a medical college. Prashant continues to be in VS Hospital. Parul continues to be in VS Hospital. All the students who entered as my residents, everyone has finished 4th year, and I hope enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed having them. Going back into the Grand Medical College days, no smoking, no drinking, no race going, no friendship with women, etc., etc. By કેટલાક ટીખળી લોકો મને ગાંધી તરીકે બી કહેતા હતા. That has nothing to do with this. But I think even the development of this atmosphere of trust, students had a lot to do with it. They bonded so closely with me, naturally in response I bonded so closely with me, that I wouldn't like to do anything which displeased them, In turn, they didn't like to do something which would displease them. And if I think back all over all these years, I don't think I had any occasion to scold anyone. It was so wonderful a time, but I don't think any occasion. Yeah, there have been instances where something not very much to my liking may have happened, but that was not a single case where I could hold anybody responsible for negligence or for something which they should not have done and they have done it by volition. So the question never arose about it. And as such, my temperament is not of. So.
Sir, your policy to involve senior residents in decision making has made us more confident and complete doctors and better human beings. And we are all very indebted to you. And I still remember that we used to call you Master in Gujarati whenever we used to discuss about you amongst ourselves. I still also recollect that when Haresh Doshi, when he was getting installed as president of AOGS, described you as a medical saint. Prakash Joshi, who is practicing in Himatnagar, he used to tell that if I am walking in the corridor of gynec department and if one person who is coming from the opposite side and I would feel like bowing to him with gratitude, it was only Dr. Vani. This was especially amazing because he was not your student, he was with another unit. So this is the kind of expression and feeling that we all carry about you. And these feelings made Runanubandh emerge. Can you share with us, sir, the philosophy behind Runanubandh?
Oh my God, Runanubandh. When I passed FRCS, I wrote a letter to Rangavdut. And funnily enough, I wrote કે મારી જાતને ઋણાનુબંધ સમજીને એ ઋણ અદા કરવાની તત્પરતા કાયમ માટે મારામાં રહેવા આશીર્વાદ આપજો. My parents, એટલે father and uncle, were very close to Rangavdut, and Rangavdut is supposed to have remarked, કે how did Nalin write this? My home name was Nalin. That I came to know much later on. But that Runanubandh was before 64. Subsequently, it so happened, I have already referred to the bond which we had between the students and the teacher, that when I retired in 1989, the students collected voluntarily some money and wanted to present that money to me as a sort of a parting token of respect. I remember we had gone to Polo. In that Khandev temple, we sat there all around and discussed about this issue. I very politely refused that. Don't give me this money, but we will float a trust on this money for the benefit of the students. Because મેં તમને શું શીખવાડ્યું છે એ તો હું જાણતો નથી, એ તમે જાણો છો, પણ તમારી પાસેથી હું ઘણું શીખ્યો છું. So while we were considering various names for this trust, that name Runanubandh sprang up. And in that Polo temple, we decided that we will, with this money, form a trust and it will be called Runanubandh. And that money will be utilized for people, for the students who want to carry the career in obstetric gynecology. For many years, teaching sessions used to be organized for students going for exams for undergraduate as well as postgraduate under AOGS and Runanubandh. Subsequently, somehow it just faded away. Runanubandh still exists. Runanubandh Trust still exists. And while I was in America, the students approached the the Gujarat University. And એ પૈસામાંથી મારા નામનો ગોલ્ડ મેડલ પણ એમણે ફ્લોટ કર્યો અને પાછળથી મને જણાવ્યું. I used to insist on all the platforms that whenever a question of name comes, you give the name of Runanubandh, not Narendra Vani. But this had happened and that gold medal still goes on, I understand. The lectures have gone out, but they have arranged some even seminars on the name of Runanubandh. And we still keep on sort of exchanging our views on Runanubandh periodically amongst ourselves. One fine day, while these activities were intensely going on, Ankleshwariya, our past Foxy president in Ahmedabad, named this as blood group V. આપણી પાસે બ્લડ ગ્રુપ એ છે, બી છે, ઝીરો છે અને એ બી છે. પણ એક પાંચમું blood group V, which is very much actively alive even today. And that group very regularly meets. Imagine after 30 years, more than 30 years, we still meet, we still exchange views, we still do all sorts of things. And Runanubandh is a very, very important part of my existence even today. And thanks to my students, I still remain a student. And it is very important for every teacher to remain a student all his life. Thanks to Runanubandh.
Sir, I have not seen a more popular teacher than you in my entire professional career. I still remember that you used to take graduate students' lectures and I used to accompany you to take the attendance for those. And you were so popular that right from second year, first term to final due students, including some postgraduates, would come and attend the lecture. The 200-seat classroom used to get full and people used to stand in the aisle. And still there were some waiting outside. So they decided and you took lectures in the college auditorium, 800 capacity auditorium without any mic or any audiovisual aid. It was just an amazing experience and you would stop only when you felt dry in your throat because of loud voice needed to give lecture to carry to the last benches. I also especially remember one incident where you took a lecture on breach and in the end you mentioned that a successful cephalic version has been one of the most satisfying experiences in your life. And after coming out as a first year, I just blurted that, sir, it was very satisfying experience to listen to your lecture. You just stand still in the corridor, waited for 5 to 7 seconds and mentioned these prophetic words that I would like you to take such lectures in future. So that kind of a promotion and support was just too good for all of us. Sir, I am very fortunate that today I am sitting here and discussing with you. There are many other colleagues who would also like to share their experiences of their interaction with you. Due to paucity of time, we may not be able to continue further, but it has been an amazing experience to be with you, a lifetime experience. And may I request you to give some parting messages to the youngsters?
ઓડિટોરિયમના 3 લેક્ચર્સ તો મને ખાસ યાદ રહી ગયા છે. વિદ્યાર્થીઓ અમારા યુનિટના આવે ને અંડર ગ્રેજ્યુએટ્સ આવે એ તો સમજ્યા, પણ ઘણા પોસ્ટ ગ્રેજ્યુએટ્સ પણ લેક્ચર્સ ભરવા આવતા હતા ને એટલે આ પેલા લેક્ચર હોલ ભરાઈ જતા, એટલે વિદ્યાર્થીઓ જ અમને ઓડિટોરિયમમાં લઈ જતા અને ઓડિટોરિયમ ખોલાવે, ઓડિટોરિયમમાં જઈએ, લેક્ચર આપીએ. તેમાં એક લેક્ચર નોર્મલ લેબર પર મારું ઘણું મહત્ત્વનું રહેતું. તે વખતે પણ બ્રેસ્ટ ફીડિંગ ઉપરનું લેક્ચર ઘણું મહત્ત્વનું રહેતું. અને બીજું આ તમે મેન્શન કર્યું એમ બ્રીચ ઉપર, બ્રીચના એક્સટર્નલ કેફેલિક વર્ઝન તો હું આજે પણ કરું છું અને ઘણી ડિલિવરીઝ નોર્મલી થઈ શકી છે. જે 1% કોમ્પ્લિકેશન્સની વાત કરી એમાં થયું હોય તો મારા ધ્યાનમાં કોઈ હજી સુધી આવ્યું નથી. ફોર્સ ન વાપરે તો કોમ્પ્લિકેશન્સ થતા નથી એવી મારી દૃઢ માન્યતા છે. પણ હા, જ્યાં જઉં છું ત્યાં બધે જ વિદ્યાર્થીઓ આ ખાસ કહેતા હોય છે કે સાહેબ તમારું તો ઓડિટોરિયમમાં અમે લેક્ચર સાંભળ્યું છે નોર્મલ લેબર પર. આ પણ એક જાતનો લાવો છે કે આટલા 30, 35 વર્ષ પછી બી વિદ્યાર્થીઓ યાદ કરીને તમારું લેક્ચર મેન્શન કરે, એ મોટામાં મોટી ભગવાનની કૃપા છે. મેસેજની જે વાત કરી એમાં તો આપણા અત્યારનો માહોલ તો એવો છે કે ધ ગ્રેટેસ્ટ કેઝ્યુઅલિટી હેઝ બીકમ ધેટ ટ્રસ્ટ. કોઈ કોઈના પર અત્યારે ભરોસો રાખી શકતું નથી. જે અમારા વખતે પૂરા પ્રમાણમાં હતું એ આજે લગભગ નષ્ટ થઈ ગયું છે. એને પાછું લાવવા માટે પૂરેપૂરો પ્રયત્ન કરવો જોઈએ. એના માટે આપણી જાતને બદલવી જોઈએ કે જેના પર લોકો ભરોસો મૂકી શકે. તો ભરોસો ડેવલપ થશે તો આ થશે તો કાલે ઉઠીને સિગ્નેચર લેવાની જરૂર કદાચ ન બી પડે, પણ એ ટ્રસ્ટ લો. છેલ્લા મેસેજ તરીકે તો અગેન રંગ અવધૂતની એ જ ભજનની છેલ્લી પંક્તિ કહું. રૂપ રૂપે તું અરૂપી, રંગ એ નિર્ધાર, ગોત્યું જડે ના હું ક્યાંય, એવો દી દેખાડ. જે દિવસે આ હુંનો ત્યાગ કરતાં આપણે શીખીશું તો બધા ઘણા પ્રોબ્લેમ સોલ્વ થઈ જશે. એનામાંથી ઘણા જવાબો પણ મળશે. અને ફરીથી હું મને આ અવસરે મારો આપે જે બોલવાની તક આપી એના માટે ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર. અને મારા પરસ્પર દેવો ભવને વંદન.